Welcome to the Recovery Cast, brought to you by Hills and Rangers Private.
Well, hello there, and welcome back to the Recovery Cast, brought to you by Hills and Rangers. My name's Oliver, and I'm an addict. And today is another one of those days where we have a special guest in to discuss all things recovery. So today we have my good friend and recovery buddy, Shane. Say hi, Shane.
Hi guys, Shane here.
Awesome. Lovely to have you on the show. So today we'll get straight into it. We are doing a JFT reading today, and it is October the 16th. The simplest prayer. Praying only for the knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Step 11. How do we pray? With little experience, many of us don't even know how to begin. The process, however, is neither difficult nor complicated. We came to Narcotics Anonymous because of our drug addiction. But underlying that, many of us felt a deep sense of bewilderment with life itself. We seemed to be lost, wandering a trackless waste with no one to guide us. Prayer is a way to gain direction in life and the power to follow that direction. Because prayer plays such a central part in NA recovery, many of us set aside a particular time each day to pray, establishing a pattern. In this quiet time, we talk to our higher power, either silently or aloud. We share our thoughts, our feelings, our day. We ask, what would you have me do? At the same time, we ask, please give me the power to carry out your will. Learning to pray is simple. We ask for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. By doing that, we find the direction we lacked and the strength we need to fulfill our God's will. Just for today, I will set aside some quiet time to talk with my higher power. I will ask for that power's direction and the ability to act on it. Well, it's a lot to process. Shane, what do you think about that reading, and what came up for you when you heard that reading?
Basically, it's the top bit itself. It's praying only for the knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry it out.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm not here to tell anyone how to have a higher power or who it needs to be, but we certainly need something greater than our addiction, and having a higher power in our life is a very important part of the process.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so good. I mean, that you just summed it up pretty perfectly. Is, we're not here to tell people what to do. I'm just an addict, and this, I found something that worked for me, and this is part of it for me, and this is on step 11. So this is not something that you're sort of someone who's, just come into recovery needs to worry about too much at all. The early recovery sort of person just needs to think about, getting to meetings and doing all the basic stuff, self-care, learning and listening and keeping an open mind and being willing enough to try what other people say, or what other people suggest. And this is a part of that. So that brings me to the question. The first sort of topic is, how do we pray? For me, it's a little bit embarrassing, but I do the majority of my prayer in the shower in the morning, and I sort of like sit down in the shower, and it's, it's nice and dark, and it's a comforting environment. And that's when I do my prayer. Nobody can interrupt me at that time. It's just me, and I ask for some kind of direction through for my day. It's pretty good. And look, it's not always that simple, and sometimes I forget and all that sort of stuff, but it's just a genuine routine that I am getting into, is that's the best time for me to do it. And I encourage anybody to sort of, who is new at it, is to just try and find what works for them. What works for you, Shane? How do you pray?
Well, having heard what you just said, I really think that it's going to be different for everyone, and there's no one right way to do it. It's really personal preference. For myself, I mean, there's a time where I'll take time out in the morning, not very long. I'm not this huge spiritual guy, but there's a time in the morning where I just take time to acknowledge that my day needs to be hand over to my higher power, and that I need to let go of their control to the best of my ability. Because obviously in the past, being in control has led me to addiction, and, etc. And I think for myself personally, there's a dialogue throughout the day. Like, for example, I might jump in the car, I might just have a quick, I might say the Serenity Prayer, or just before starting work, or something like that. Another good example would be, so I'm having a tough day at work, I might just go to the toilet, whatever suits, whatever works. My encouragement is just to keep an open mind to it, and just try something different, because what we've tried in the past hasn't worked, and that's why we're here today. So
amazing, so powerful. I wanted to touch on, we had a bit of a chat before this episode, and one thing we both agreed with was, it mentions in the reading a sense of bewilderment with life. And I always say that I feel like an alien that was plonked down on the wrong planet. Like, I sort of missed the instructional session before I was born to say, this is life and this is how you live it. And you said, what did you say, Shane?
I would have said in that responding to that was that I always, before coming into recovery, I did certainly feel a square peg in a round hole, or I just didn't feel like I fitted in and stuff like that, and that sense of bewilderment is a good way of summing that up. It's just, what is this all about? What is life? And all I know is my solution is a substance. So there's certainly that sense of bewilderment for sure.
Mm-hmm. And it's something that I've heard, time and time again in recovery from other recovering, addicts or just people in recovery, is that they felt that. And for me, at least, when I arrived in the rooms of NA and when I attempted to stay in recovery this time and attempted to do the 12 steps, some of those questions and just the bewilderment that I had, it was, the questions were answered and the bewilderment was diminished greatly, and I was able to, things just fell into place and fell into a sense of ease. And I think that to me is just simply because, my higher power has given me some more direction. And for the first time, I was actually open to that. So I was acting on that direction, and lo and behold, things got a little bit smoother and a little bit easier and a bit less painful. Not to mention I wasn't using anymore, and that just made everything a lot easier as well. So that's fantastic. How do you, obviously in recovery, things, it's a vastly different landscape to be in recovery as opposed to being in active addiction. But do you find that in your life now, things still come up for you that are difficult? How do you navigate that, and what has happened for you?
Well, NA or recovery has given me a set of tools that I use now. I call a support person, pray, meditate. These are the things I never did before. And these things help me to navigate life's problems, which is just normal, and move through them a bit more in a healthy way instead of turning to some substance to cope.
Fantastic. Very powerful stuff. We'll be back with you after the break. You're listening to the Recovery Cast.
You're listening to the Recovery Cast, brought to you by Hills and Rangers Private. Like what you hear? Then visit us at www.rehab.melbourne for more shows.
Awesome. Thank you. You're listening to the Recovery Cast, and we have Shane on the line. So we were just talking about how in recovery things still do come up, and it's up to us along with our higher power to actually navigate this new landscape in recovery. We were talking about actually you had something come up the other day, Shane, with your car, and can you tell us about that now?
Well, yeah, I mean, life happens, and about 3 weeks ago, I was actually going to see what we call a sponsor in NA, which is your mate's peer support. And on the way there, I blew up the car. And
oh no!
The first thing instead of reacting and jumping off a cliff with it or catastrophizing what took place, I kind of sat there at the side of the car and I thought, well, the fact is this is just a car, and the tools of the program are telling me that things happen in life, but it's about how I respond to it, not how I react. And so I sat there and I just made a few phone calls, and to cut a long story short, something from blowing my car up, within a couple of weeks, my manager at work has fixed it to like quarter of the price, no labour.
Wow.
So, I just feel like my higher power, even though it was a bad thing that took place, I still was able to navigate through it.
Yeah.
And get a really good outcome,
Yeah. And, that's so true, is that when things like that happen to me in my life, whether it's just external things or a sense of unease or unhappiness, as long as I sort of try and listen to what, or just be a bit more open to what my higher power's direction might be, I don't make things worse for myself. So, for example, maybe in my active addiction, things happened, and I would go and use on it, and I would go and, it would just become so much more dramatic and worse, and I would get angry, and I might break something, or I might just burn some more bridges or whatever. Now, I reach out to people, and first of all, is that when I'm listening to my higher power usually tells me to do nothing and not act on what I'm feeling. And that has been the most beneficial thing for me, is that my higher power says, stop it, don't do that. That's your will. And my will got me into rehab. As we were talking about, my will got me to the deepest and most depraved depths of despair. These days, I ring my sponsor, or I meditate, or I do something, and that's I count that as sort of as my higher power's direction. My direction would be to make it into something bigger than it is, and my higher power's direction is to just sit on it and sleep on it and let it go and try and do something productive to reach out for help. That's been actually probably the most powerful thing that's happened in my recovery. What else do we have to talk about? We were talking about, this is a good question. How would someone who is new to recovery, how would they start and begin a sort of a bit of a routine of prayer? And how would they know that they have a higher power, and how would they know it's telling them what to do? What do you think about that? So first of all, how would somebody start praying?
Look, my encouragement is to first have an open mind. We have a lot of preconceived ideas coming into recovery.
Yeah.
For myself personally, I really had to throw them aside.
Yeah.
The prejudgments, preconceived ideas and concepts around what higher power might be, and just put myself out there and like a step of faith, and just for myself, just have a conversation,
Yeah.
God, higher power, whatever you want to call it. Just have a conversation. Just make some requests. Talk about something. Just start from there and then see where it leads you. And there really isn't any right or wrong answer there. It's just have a go. Keep an open mind,
Yeah, that's so
And
good. And how would somebody who's new to recovery know that their higher power is telling them what to do? How would they perceive that direction?
that's a great question. It's not an easy question to answer, actually,
not,
but I feel like it's a journey of faith, and I think in your personal journey with this, I think you'll get a sense for yourself, and
yeah, great.
It just circumstances or something might happen, and you think, well, that was a bit out of the ordinary, and gee, I didn't expect that. I mean, these little things or little signposts, there's little things that give you an idea around what your higher power might be doing around you. So
yeah. I think it's very much a matter of seek and you will find, or ask and you will receive. It's just about awareness.
Give it a go.
Yeah. That I actually find that's very much the same story for me, is that I don't always know, coming from when I came into recovery, I thought I knew everything, and I had certainly had an attitude when I made it into the rooms. That slowly broke down over time, and I was able to sort of just become a little bit more aware and a little bit more sensitive to life and how things were being provided to me. And once again, it is a very, very personal journey. And I think, we encourage, I won't speak for you, Shane, but I think we're on the same page, is that I would encourage somebody who's new to this to just experiment with it and have a dialogue, like you said, open a conversation with your higher power. Yeah, there's nothing to lose if it doesn't work. Yeah,
just give it a go.
Yeah, well, the same way that that I gave recovery a go, and then I gave NA a go, and I gave the 12 steps a go. So far, so good. Might as well give a higher power a go, and so far, so good as well with that. So I really hope that has sort of given some guidance to those of our listeners who are new to recovery and wondering what on earth this is all about. It's worth delving into and ask somebody, find someone at a meeting who seems to have it down pat, and someone who just sort of sits in their chair at a meeting with a sense of ease and calm, and ask them, say, hey, what's your higher power? How does it work for you? And that's where all that happens. We help each other. So I would like to just say, Shane, in the time that I've known you, I've seen this program work for you as well, and it's been an absolute journey. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show with us today. I look forward to catching up with you again, and I look forward to seeing this journey unfold further. I used to call you Mad Dog. That was your nickname, but I don't think you're Mad Dog anymore. I think you're like spiritual dog. I don't know.
Spirit dog.
Yeah, man, that's what we can call you. So yeah, awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming in, Shane. I'll speak to you again soon. Cheers, man. All right. Well, thank you. That's been another episode, and hope to see you again soon. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Recovery Cast. For more, visit us at www.rehab.melbourne.